Even though we can identify certain of its elements, leader development is not a simple and orderly step-by-step procedure of moving through a series of predictable and successive points. In reality, leader development is a rather chaotic, complex, and multifaceted experiential collage. It's an experiential collage of different people, relationships, influences, assignments, tasks, responsibilities, duties, deadlines, opportunities, pressures, crises, blessings, sufferings, rejections, successes, mistakes, and on, that all work together to build the emerging leader. So, an effective leader development process is not a neat series of courses, but it's a fiery immersion in real life, real-time experiences reflecting the complicated and fundamentally difficult nature of Christian leadership, and bringing deep heart issues to the surface to be dealt with, and compelling the participant to look utterly to God for everything in his life and ministry. Let's look at how to design this kind of collage. Throughout the scriptures, we see the importance of design to God. In the beginning, he created the world with amazing and very clear design. He gave very clear designs for the building of the tabernacle of Moses and the temple of Solomon. Jesus was intentional in building his leaders. His methods were not haphazard. He built them according to design. We also must learn to create effective designs, transformational collages for leader development. Look at what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 3. By the grace God has given me, I laid a foundation as an expert builder, and someone else is building on it, but each one should be careful how he builds. The following is a simple method by which a process for building leaders in any culture or context can be designed. This same process can be used to design a half-day training or a one-year learning community or anything in between. Step 1, define the goal. The key to design is to clearly define. First, we must clearly define our goal. Then, we must define the process that will achieve that goal. So first we begin by defining what a healthy leader is and what our goal in the training is. If we don't have a clear understanding of our goal, then the process of development will be very hard to define. Now, our goal at LeaderSource is an effective, healthy Christian leader. We define this as a man or woman who is strong in 5 C's. Christ, a healthy leader knows God. Community, a healthy leader lives in supportive and accountable community. Character, a healthy leader has integrity. Calling, a healthy leader knows the purpose of God and presents it with clarity, credibility, and passion. And then competencies. A healthy leader has the necessary thinking and acting capacities to lead the people in the accomplishment of this purpose. First, you establish a clear goal. Then, step 2 is to establish the process. Having defined what a healthy leader is, we then need to establish biblical principles of how such a leader is formed. Our process is to use the 4 dynamics of transformation: spiritual, relational, experiential, and instructional. Jesus used these dynamics when he built his disciples, creating a powerful transformational collage around his emerging leaders. So to build leaders, we build the 5 C's through the 4 D's. This is how we design. This is universal in nature. This is a basic biblical approach that will work in any culture or context. The exact form that the training ends up taking will vary considerably from place to place and time to time, but this core principle is universal. Now we move to the application of the general biblical principles, and this is how the appropriate form of training for each context will be created. This is step 3, develop the design. This step begins to define how the universal biblical principles will be put to work in a given context. And this is accomplished by asking this question: how are each of the 5 C's built in our context in a way that is consistent with the 4 dynamics? For the final design to be effective, this step must not be rushed. It must be thought through accurately and comprehensively. Traditionally, in leader development design, we have focused mostly on instruction. However, we must give significant attention to all 4 of the dynamics of transformation: spiritual, relational, experiential, and instructional, because that's how lives are changed. When all 4 dynamics are strongly present in a design, then spiritual life is nurtured, relational capacities are strengthened, character is developed, calling is clarified, and deep capacities of thinking and acting are built. Now, this should not surprise us, since a study of the Gospels will show us that Jesus did exactly this with his disciples. His strategy was not only instructional, he also created a transformational context of leader development, including spiritual, relational, and experiential elements. This also was the practice of the early church. To say that we need all 4 at work is not to devalue strong content. Indeed, instruction is one of the 4 key dynamics of transformation in this model of healthy leader development. However, by itself, content is not sufficient. To build lives, we must design transformational contexts that are strong spiritually, relationally, and experientially. To illustrate this, here is an example of how to do design. Suppose we want to build evangelists. We could begin with an experiential component by simply sending them out to share the gospel with unbelievers. Just go and do it. Will that work? Will they learn anything about evangelism? Well, certainly they will. But it could be done better, couldn't it? So now let's include a relational dimension by sending them out with experienced evangelists who they can watch and who will watch them and encourage them and correct them. Well, clearly this will work even better. Now let's add a strong spiritual dynamic by having our emerging evangelists join with intercessors before going out. They'll pray for the lost, entering into God's burden for those without Christ. And then when they go out to evangelize, they'll look to God for help, asking Him who to go to, and waiting upon Him inwardly for the right words to speak. Now our strategy of building evangelists will work even better. Finally, let's give them some instruction. A good course on the meaning and nature of evangelism, studying God's plan of salvation, a simple way to share the gospel in one's own testimony, some common objections to the gospel and how to respond, and so forth. Well, now we're building strong evangelists. That's a very simple example of how to use the 4 dynamics to design a training process to build your emerging leaders.